All right, next on the docket, Shane, Kentucky. They have the over-under set at 8. So just barely under Tennessee. And I think the difference there is that Tennessee game against Kentucky is in Neyland Stadium. Otherwise, we may be flipping those two numbers. But here's the Kentucky schedule, Shane. Miami of Ohio right out the gate at home. At Florida. Youngstown State.
Right.
NIU, Northern Illinois, at home. At Ole Miss. South Carolina at home. Mississippi State at home. Then you get a bye week at Tennessee. Kentucky's going to have 2 weeks to prepare, Shane. At Missouri, Vanderbilt at home, Georgia at home, and Louisville at home. So, hey, a nice home stretch there to close out the season. So, basically, right. Shane, are you picking – man, this is a tough one because it's straight at 8. So, they got to win 9 games if you're going over, and 7 if you're going under. Which way are you going with the Kentucky Wildcats?
This is one of those that I kept going around and around with because, I see scenarios where Kentucky is facing Georgia undefeated, and I've seen, the wheels fall off. So I think, I try not to give too much stock into spring games or spring practices, but everything I'm seeing out of Lexington, I'm loving this team more and more. I think that when they hit the league, when they hit open conference, especially that Florida game, I think they're going to be humming, man. I think they're going to know exactly what they got. And I think they're going to be able to beat the Florida Gators. I know it's early, and I know Gator fans don't want to hear that, but I just think that's one of those question mark games that definitely puts me on the over. It's just because of where you're catching them on the schedule. When I always look at these over-unders, I always pick out what the games I just know without a doubt Kentucky's going to win. And looking at it, I saw 6 easy ones. And then I started to piece together, okay, can they beat Florida? Yeah, I do. I think they can do that. Can they beat an Ole Miss? Can they beat a Mississippi State? Can they beat a Tennessee? And there's too many. Yeah, I could see that playing. So the more I add all those up, I've got Kentucky over, and the more and more confidence I've got in them. So I'm pretty high on this one, Mike. I think it's a big season for the Big Blue Nation. So give me over and give me about, not crazy, not 100, but I'm still pretty high on these guys, 75%.
Well, Shane, this is another one we're going to disagree on. Now, I think 8 probably is.
Why you hate Kentucky, Mike? Huh?
I think 8 is a great number, but the way we play this, we're not cowards. We're not pushing any of these.
No.
If I could, that's probably the number I'd go with. But, I keep thinking about this game, Shane, week 2 at Florida, and there always seems to be a game on Kentucky's schedule, whether it's a Missouri game or a South Carolina game, that really dictates how the rest of the season goes. And if Kentucky goes down to Gainesville and whoops up on the Gators, they're going to go over, I think. But, man, I just think Florida's going to have so much motivation all offseason hearing about how Kentucky is going – Kentucky's going to come down there and beat you in your home field, something that's only happened like once in 50 years. Of course, this is a new Kentucky, no doubt. But, I think that's a crossroads game. And then, of course, the next SEC game at Ole Miss. This is so tough for me, Shane, because I don't really know at this point what to expect from Florida or Ole Miss. Right. Now, can Kentucky beat both those? Hell yeah, they can. But could they lose to both of them if Ole Miss and Florida's better than most people are projecting? I think they could drop those games. And that's before we get to some of these other games like South Carolina. Who knows what? They could be certainly looking like on the rise. Mississippi State, we keep talking about being the best team under Mike Leach. So what's that saying? Mississippi State beat Kentucky last year, no doubt. So I'm just leaning a little bit more towards the 7 than I am over. I got more confidence in it. Not a ton of confidence. Like I said, 8 I think is a much better number. But so I'll go under, Shane, and I'm going – you won't let me push, so I'll go the coward's way out on these percentages. I'm going 51% under for Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh man, Mike, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think the Florida. That's the crazy thing about Florida. Florida reminds me a lot of Tennessee a few years ago when we didn't want to admit that Kentucky was a competitor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not a game that we had to get fired up for. It was a game we just expected to win. And after you drop the first one, you make some little excuse. It was, well, we had a terrible coach and blah, blah, blah. And then you drop the next one and you say, well, we had the bowl game. We lost our conference. It's just you make these excuses. And the next thing you know, you're 3-4 years into the thing. And you're like, damn, this is a rivalry, And I think Kentucky wants this game more than Florida does. One of the things I got to disagree with you a little bit. I guarantee if you pull that team down there in Gainesville, ain't nobody talking about Kentucky, right. But you go to Kentucky, I guarantee a lot of them can't wait to put a whooping on the Florida Gators. So this is a bigger game for them, and that's why I think it is an advantage for Kentucky getting them so early because, like I said, this is more of a seasoned team. This is one of those guys or programs that kind of already knows their identity, knows they're working on depth right now. That's what they're doing. So, I mean, obviously there is some question marks on Kentucky's lineup, but I think there's a lot more open wounds down there in Florida. So that's why I just think catching that game two weeks in is a huge advantage for Big Blue, and that's why I'm so confident on the over.